First National Bank of Lake Jackson presents Bank on It with your host, Dave Mayberry.
Welcome all, both here in our studios and those streaming online. We are proud and excited to have as our guest today my friend Gary Martin, owner and dealer principal of Leo Martin Chevrolet here in Lake Jackson. Welcome, and thanks for coming in here, Gary.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I've been trying to get you in here for a while, and it finally, on the rainiest day in a long, long time, we rolled together, and here we are.
Here we are.
First of all, congrats on nearly 60 years, if you can believe that, of doing business the right way by putting family values first. And you always have. The whole family has. Talk about how y'all have stated with your mottos and the way you do business in Brazoria County.
Well, it started with my grandfather.
Right.
And my grandfather was in the automobile business back in the 30s.
Did he start here in town? Or
He did not. He did not. So my grandfather came off the farm, cotton farm in the early 30s, and he moved into Waco and went to work for Waco Chevrolet Company, and sold Chevrolets there for a number of years. And then he became an independent used car dealer in Waco. And he was on the corner of 5th and Washington across the street from the courthouse for about 40 years. Then he moved up on Franklin Avenue with my uncle and my cousin, and he stayed there until he got out of the car business.
So it really was a family affair.
It started with him.
So when he was in the business for 40 years, did your dad go to work for him, or how did that start out?
My dad never worked for his dad.
Okay.
He never did. Many people in my family were in the car business. My grandfather was the inspiration for that. He was the motivation for many of my family members getting in the car business, but very few worked for him. And he did quite well on his own. And as a little boy, about, 8 or 10 years old, I used to go to my grandparents, and I would spend the day with my granddad at the car lot and walk across the street to the courthouse, and we'd go with him to transfer titles to the cars that he sold. And it was, that's the thing that sort of inspires you, right?
Yeah.
To do these kind of things. And I went to work on a wash rack, washing cars. So you got to start somewhere.
I like it. And how was your dad inspired at that time?
Well, he was in the car business in Houston, and he worked for a couple of dealers, and then he became an independent used car dealer over on OST.
Old
And if you
Spanish
remember
Trail. They had
back
several
then,
of them on Old Spanish Trail back then.
well, Lawrence Marshall was up on Washington Avenue. My dad was on OST.
Right.
And those were the old timers, back then. And then my dad had the opportunity to get a Volkswagen franchise in Freeport, 1967. And so I was 10 years old, and we up and moved from Houston and became Volkswagen dealers.
When he was selling used cars in Houston, was he doing his own notes at that time, or?
He was.
That was early.
He was.
Man.
I can remember one time when, a new car dealer called from another dealership we were trying to do a dealer trade with, and my dad told him, he said, well, I guess I'm the only dumb one. He said, you got out of the new car business to become a used car dealer, and I got out of the used car business to become a new car dealer. And, a lot of these used car dealers have done pretty well. The Freddie Browns, and many of them in Houston, and my grandfather, and they did pretty well being an independent.
You said that he got an opportunity in Freeport to pick up a Volkswagen dealership. Now, was there already one established in Freeport
No.
that he bought? And that's what I wanted to ask you. When you bought a franchise, it was territorial?
Well, yes, it was a new point,
I see.
and it was, they used the word awarded to him
I see.
as a new point. Today, it's nearly impossible to get a new point with any manufacturer in any geographic location, right?
Exactly.
And so he got a new point with Volkswagen, and then a number of years later, he did buy out an existing Chevrolet dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And as you remember, Otis Polk was his name.
Exactly. It was the old joke, that Mr. Bean, had his place, and Mr. Polk, and they were going to call it Polk and Bean, But your dad, was he always there on Brazosport Boulevard?
No, remember years and years ago, the Chevrolet dealership was in downtown, the old downtown Freeport.
Right.
Across the street was Star Cleaners.
Right.
And then there was a drugstore next door. I can't remember the name of the drugstore, but then we moved up on Brazosport Boulevard soon thereafter.
And we thought that was the newest, most great looking building we'd ever seen. All the glass and everything. We'd drive into Freeport to go to First Baptist Church. We're going, wow, look at this place. It was awesome. When did you join, you and Dusty? Now, you had gone into finance, is that right? Into financial business, or into, you had studied stocks and bonds and stuff of that nature, is that right?
I did, but my first job in the car business was in Hearne, Texas.
Really?
I was still in school at Texas A&M.
Okay.
And took a job with a dealer that my dad knew, but my dad did not even know I was getting in the car business. And so I went to work for a dealer in Hearne, stayed there a few years, and I left there and went to work for Lawrence Marshall in Hempstead, sold cars there. So I went to work for a dealership in Hearne that maybe sold 25 cars a month to Lawrence Marshall that sells, that at the time sold 1,000 units a month. And so it's a great experience. And so we're not that small, and we're not that big either. And so it's been a good fit and a great experience learning.
What makes doing business in Brazoria County different from anywhere else?
Well, so if you really think about this, it's really unique. And there's a couple ways. I have a couple answers for that question, but what makes it unique is, would be very similar to if you're in Galveston or another coastal town. Our market is only 180 degrees. Everything south of us is in the Gulf. So you don't have a market there. Unfortunately, we can't sell fish cars. So,
Right.
So everything south of us is in the Gulf of Mexico. So everything north of us for 180 degrees is our market. So it makes it unique, because if you're in Conroe or you're in Houston, you have a 360 degree market. And so you have to really pay attention to be successful in your own market before you try to be successful in someone else's market. And so that can take some innovative marketing. It can just take just working harder. But that is a unique feature about being on a coastal town like being in Brazoria County. Even you have a larger market or all the way around you if you're in Pearland, but not in Freeport, not like Jackson, not in Galveston, not in Corpus Christi. So Brazoria County is somewhat of a unique market. The other thing that's in a more positive note that is very unique about Brazoria County is I grew up here,
Mm-hmm.
and I've developed a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships. That goes a long way when you're in business for yourself, and especially when you're in retail. And so that's been a real positive thing for me and my family.
And that reflects on your business. I mean, when you think about it, think about repeat business and referrals. People that know you and say, when I bought at Leo Martin Chevrolet, you ought to try them. What percentage of your business do you think is that?
Well, a large percentage of our business is I can't tell you exact percentage,
Right.
but is repeat business and referrals. And there's an old saying: there's no better customer than the one you already got.
That's right.
So you better pay attention to the customers that you already have, and make sure and keep those customers happy. But the unique thing I think related to that is when somebody comes in our dealership, they can always talk to someone with some skin in the game. And there's a lot of good dealers out there, but they don't stay in their stores. And so when they walk in our dealership, the ownership's there. I'm there most every day, but I've gotten to where at my age, 68 years old, I can come and go a little bit more as I please. But I enjoy being at the dealership. And I'm very, very blessed and fortunate that I only live 5 minutes from my office.
Beautiful. And you're right. You do see managers or sales managers or something, but never the owners. They're
Right.
somewhere else. But while we're talking about that and people, take a moment to talk a little bit about your staff. You've invested a lot of time and energy in your staff, and I met them. You introduced them on one of your ribbon cuttings recently, and I'm very impressed. And you are too. You treat them just like family.
Well, we've had a lot of employees that have worked for us over 30 and 40 years that have died working for us or retired working for us. And
You didn't work them to death, did you?
no,
Okay.
no, it's unfortunate, but it just shows loyalty on their part, loyalty on our part, and how important it is to keep good people. Our controller, I went to high school with her, Pam Lawhon. She's our controller and CPA. She's worked for us for 30 years. And so it's tough to replace those kind of people. Years ago when we were in Freeport and our body shop was there, we had a whole family that worked for us. And, they slowly retired, and some of them passed away. And that's hard to do today, to get people like that.
And people don't think about it. You think of dealerships and you only think of sales. It takes a lot more than that. It takes sales, it takes finance, it takes service, and it takes the body shop to make something roll like this these days. You can't live on one alone. And you've got a great staff over there. You showed me a picture when Sandra Shaw worked for you back in the whatever day that was.
Well, I've known her since I was 10 years old. Of course, she's now, executive director of our local chamber of commerce, and she's been a good friend for many, many, many years. And so
she's going to be my next guest on the next podcast.
Oh,
I wanted to bring that up for you. I'll have you come in here too. You can talk about old times with her.
Anyway, we're good friends, and I've known her for a long time, and she worked for my dad. And we've had Doris Mize.
Hmm.
The Mize family.
Yes.
Doris Mize worked for my dad when I was a kid, and we've had some extraordinary long-term loyal employees that I think's really been a key to our success because those employees bring people in to buy cars.
They do. A friend of mine that's my age, David Dwellin, worked in your dealership for I don't know how long. I mean, my goodness. And you could go on about many, many others that are like that. But you've done a great job. And it's very obvious that you're passionate about what you do. And again, it's family oriented, and it's not just for the people that you serve, but the people that work for you too. We're going to take a short pause and hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with Gary Martin in just a moment. At Leo Martin Chevrolet in Lake Jackson, they are more than just a car dealership. They are members of so many communities who work and live here just like you, and only want what's best for their neighbors. Leo Martin supports many local charities and events while being committed to delivering the very best customer service to be found. Locally owned and operated by the family that treats you like family for nearly 60 years. 3 generations of one family providing the very best experience in buying or servicing your next new or pre-owned vehicle. Why buy anywhere else? Leo Martin Chevrolet, 217 West Highway 332 in Lake Jackson. Together, let's drive. Our podcast today is sponsored by First National Bank of Lake Jackson, featuring financial services with the integrity that you deserve. Let's talk. Call or come by and let's discuss your goals and plans for the future. First National Bank of Lake Jackson, putting you first for over 63 years. Member FDIC. We're back with my friend Gary Martin, owner and dealer principal of Leo Martin Chevrolet. Gary, how has the car business changed over the years?
You know, that's probably the easiest question that you're going to ask me today. Obviously, we all know that technology has brought us into a new era with electric cars, for instance. And, you know, we're not where we're going to be someday with electric cars, but someday it will be here. It may be a while, may not be while I'm in the car business, but now, today, we're getting into autonomous cars. You've seen on television about these cars that don't have drivers. And one day, you're not going to call it Uber. You're going to call one of these autonomous cars, and you're going to have that car take you to Hobby Airport and drop you off and come back and pick you up. And there won't be a driver in that car. And so it is rapidly changing now more than ever. Now, I will tell you, I don't think in our lifetime we're going to see automobiles completely go away because obviously in Texas, trucks are big, you know, and ranchers need trucks. So an autonomous vehicle is not going to come out to your ranch and, you know, pull your mower, your
baler,
your brush hog or something around your ranch. But so there's going to be trucks and there's going to be SUVs, but it may mean that Dave Mayberry has one car instead of 2 cars someday. So that's a concern in my business. But the technology and the new vehicles, these autonomous vehicles are totally changing the environment for the automobile business.
Your son Jason is, well, with Leo Martin Chevrolet, he's a 3rd generation, but I guess with the Martin lineup in the automobile business, he's a 4th generation.
That's true.
And he's the general manager of the dealership now. Do any of your grandkids show signs that we got a possibility right here? Here's one that we think might just take over the reins in 20 years or 25 years or something like that?
Well, they're too young now to to know that.
You don't have one that bosses the others around.
Not really. No, no.
Well, that's great.
Well, Rosalie, Jason's little girl, she's a little bossy, but she's just got a real type A personality that this business, requires. So she could be the one. I don't know, but I think they're a little too young now to really determine if I'm going to have another generation in this business or not. But we'll have to see. We're going to have to see again where the technology takes us, where this industry takes us, where General Motors takes us. There's a lot to see what happens.
It'll be more like George Jetson stuff, by the time they're old enough to take over the dealerships, I think.
Well, I would have never believed 10 years ago that there was going to be a car that could come pick you up without a driver. Did you?
They won't be picking me up. I can tell you that. So I'm safe, but good luck with you, Let me ask you now a Barbara Walters question. If Gary Martin could go back to day one in the auto business, or not necessarily when you first started, but when you took over the dealership, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, that's a real good question. I haven't given a whole lot of thought to. What advice would I give myself? I've worked so hard in this business and learned everything that I could learn in every department, and every department is like a different business. Just like you mentioned a while ago, you got a parts department, a body shop, a accounting department, used car department, a new car department, a service department. All these are different departments. I probably would have learned more. Most dealers and their families don't know enough about fixed operations. So service, parts, and body shop. I asked a guy one time with NADA, we talked about this and about a track for Jason in the future. And he said to me, he asked the question, he said, do you know what most dealers know about their fixed operations or parts and service? I said, no. He says, it's mighty dusty back there. And basically saying they don't know a whole lot about what goes on.
And that's so foreign to you because from the very beginning, you were part of it.
But there's still been a lot to learn.
Well, every day, right?
Because when my brother was with me in the dealership, he handled most of the things in fixed operations, and I was handling most of the things in sales. And so, wow, when we lost him, there was still a big learning curve for me and parts and service. And a lot of dealers just, they hire good people. That's great, that know how to do that job. But they never really learn it themselves. I've got a guy in my service department that's he worked for 33 years for Knapp Chevrolet in Houston. He came to work for us, and he's worked for us for 16 years. You can't get that kind of experience. And you start to depend on people for their experience, and you depend on them so much, you never really get your own feet wet, and so I would say, learn your business, whatever business you're in. really learn your business, even though you hire good people to help you.
You miss your brother?
I miss my brother every day.
I know you do. We do too, by the way. Just a little flicker of something left Brazoria County and all around us when he left us. But he's not lost. He's found.
I know.
And it'll be a blink of an eye. We'll all be together again. I promise you that. Leo Martin Chevrolet does and always has been very generous on giving back to the community and beyond. Brazoria County Livestock Show, Brazoria County Christian School, Shriners Hospital for Children, Scottish Rite Hospital, Our Lady Queen of Peace, Brazosport ISD Education Foundation, Brazos Wood Little League, West Columbia Little League, and on and on and on. Somehow, I feel that your favorite charity that you invest in most is your family, but the grandkids. Am I right?
Well, that's, that's probably for all of us. Yes. I'm very blessed that my kids live here locally where I get to see my grandkids regularly. But, every day we get inundated with, and I'm sure the bank does as well, but we get inundated with requests for charities, donations, politics. It's overwhelming.
Yep.
It's really overwhelming. And sometimes you got to say no.
Yep.
But we try to choose charities and we try to give to different organizations that we feel like are really going to make a difference in our community. And let me give you an example of that. Brazoria County Dream Center. Extraordinary in this community. Extraordinary. They give to people who are really needy. I really like the Christian schools, Our Lady Queen of Peace, Brazosport Christian School. Why? Because they teach great moral values and they build good people in our community. Okay. And of course, Shriners Hospital for Children. I served on that board for 10 years. And they're very special to me as well.
Where do you see Leo Martin Chevrolet? We kind of touched on it, but let's say in 10 to 15 years.
Well, one of the things that we just got through talking about was technology, and that you asked me about change in this industry. I don't know what that's going to be.
But you're not scared of it because you're ready, right?
I'm not scared, but I am concerned.
Yeah, I get it.
If you own Buc-ee's, you're not too worried about it because you're in control of your own destiny. But, I'm attached, I'm joined at the hip with General Motors.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever decisions that leadership makes at the top of that organization really affects what we do. And so from time to time, that concerns me. There's a lot of factors, the economy, COVID, hurricanes. There's a lot of factors that can affect our business, no matter if you're in the car business or you're in the concrete business. But there's things that, that do concern me in business. And if I don't feel like I'd be a great businessman if I didn't try and stay out ahead of it.
Right. What's a favorite local spot that you and Leah like to go to, or maybe another business that you admire, you guys?
Wow. Well, we try, when I'm not 100% sure I know exactly the question you're asking me, but
what makes you feel good when you go out with Leah? Where do you go? I know you're going to leave someone out and you're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but like when I go to take Kay to the grape taste or something like that, Holly just bends over backwards and treats us nice. And we just feel good after we go there, and something like that.
There's no doubt. And I go in that restaurant a lot myself.
Well, there you
go. So actually we both do. And it's people like that, locally, Dave Noveside,
Isn't that incredible too?
That's
hard to beat.
Mary Harnden.
Yep. Well, y'all just celebrated your 50th reunion over there at the Dairy Bar.
We did.
Everybody crowded in there, and congratulations on that, by the way.
We did.
You made it.
And I'll celebrate 44 years being married to my wife this year.
She deserves a crown with real rubies and diamonds in it. She doesn't have an enemy on this earth. What a great gal, and congratulations to you both on that. When is that?
September the 18th.
Well, at least you remembered. I was just checking on you.
Yes, 44 years, September 18th, 1982.
That's a good way to end it. Gary, I want to thank you for spending your time and sharing some thoughts and words with us, and just mostly your time today. And I hope that you might join us again one day.
I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure visiting today and sharing some of these thoughts with you.
Well, for First National Bank of Lake Jackson, Leo Martin Chevrolet, Lee Cowan, our producer with Marketing and Creative LLC, I'm Dave Mayberry saying thanks for joining us, and we look forward to our next podcast. You can bank on it.
Thank you.
This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or financial advice. Please consult with a professional for specific advice tailored to your situation. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and any guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of First National Bank of Lake Jackson. This episode discusses topics that are subject to change. Always review your current sources.